For the past 2 weeks, Captain Picard has served as a mediator in a trade dispute between the Gamorreans and their nearest neighbor, the Daklids. The Astrophysicist Center on Icor 9 is holding a symposium on rogue star clusters, and Commander Riker has mentioned how imaginative the Ryzian women are. A little too often. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 3, Episode 19, Captain's Holiday. Written by Ira Stephen Bear, directed by Chip Chalmers. This was March 31st, 1990. Where were you? Special thanks to our good friends Robert Kaiser and Barnett Sue for sponsoring this episode. Thank you very much, Robert and Barnett. We've got an amazing special guest today, everybody. He was an assistant director on like a dozen episodes of The Next Generation. He directed The Magnificent Ferengi, as well as Take Me Out to the Holosuite, two huge favorites from Deep Space Nine, and 4 episodes of The Next Generation, including today's episode, of course. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, Chip Chalmers.
Thanks very much for having me, guys.
Welcome.
Yes.
Good to have you.
Two of our, first of all,
these are just great
Deep Space Nine episodes, right?
I'm literally
Amazing.
writing the episode down. I'm like, the Magnificent Ferengi. And Take Me Out to the Holosuite. We were just talking about how amazing that episode was. It seems like you get to do all the fun episodes. Right off top, I'm going to ask you: are you the guy they call for the fun episodes? Because this episode, Captain's Holiday, just gave me like I was smiling and having fun the whole time.
I was too, man. I was too. What happened was I got to know Ira after, Captain's Holiday, and he realized I had a kind of a sense of humor directing, and I did with pretty much everything I did, because you can't be all dramatic and not let him off the hook every once in a while. So he was already kind of a fan, and that's why he gave me those 2 amazing Deep Space Nine episodes. So funny. Really used to be. Magnificent Ferengi was hysterical.
So I want to ask you, Chip, how do you get everybody? Because there's a lot of stiffness on this show, at least from what we see on screen. I've heard off screen it's been a little bit of a funner place to be at, supposedly, than Deep Space Nine from the rumors, but. On screen, there's a little bit of a stiffness. How do you get everybody to loosen up and have fun like they did in this episode?
You get them out of their uniforms. Get Picard out of his uniform and put him in some summer clothing and send him to Risa. And boy, he's a happy camper.
That's actually a really good point. A lot of actors, they get into character as they're getting their alien makeup put on or they're getting their uniform put on. You take that off, that probably would loosen them up a bit.
He starts off a little stiff when he first gets to Risa, but he loosens up pretty quickly and starts falling in love a little bit by little bit. Exploration in the cave, sleeping overnight, and then eventually starts being very concerned about her.
Can we? Sorry, go ahead, Sirach.
No, I wanted to ask about Mr. Patrick Stewart's demeanor when he was wearing those Daisy Dukes. Was he comfortable walking around? Was he comfortable? Was there a level of playfulness about it? How was his demeanor in that particular outfit that was really revealing?
Pun intended.
He was very relaxed. Of course, he started off laying in a lounger in the sun, outdoors, which was, of course, indoors. If you watch that scene very carefully, and he's on the lounger with his book, reading his book. There's a shot where you can see bright red E-fan. You know what those are? Of course, it's a rock, where they set them up and they blow the foliage, so it looks like it's outdoors. There is that red E-fan blowing the foliage right on screen.
I did not see
the cut.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, Chip,
I
wanted to ask you, because I had no idea that you had also AD'd, assistant directed on a dozen episodes of Next Generation before this. Obviously, that's a career path that most people do. You know, they kind of move up the ranks. But can you talk a little bit about making that transition from assistant director to director? What was Star Trek, your Next Generation, one of your very first projects directing? How did that come about?
No, I was on Miami Vice. I was first assistant director on Miami Vice. And what started happening is that as directors failed to complete 7 days of work, they would leave a scene left over at the Organized Crime Bureau. And every 2 or 3 episodes, you have to pick up those scenes. And since I was the first AD on most of them, they let me direct those scenes because I knew it would send me a cut, and I knew how to transition in and out of the cut with that scene. And so, and I had been studying directors for years and years and years. I did probably, I don't know, hundreds of episodes as an assistant director. So I pick up the good things and the bad things. I try to be as much of the good things as I can. And one day we were sitting at lunch, and Don Johnson walked up and sat down beside me, and he said, "Hey, kid, we're going to get you an episode to direct." What, really? He goes, yeah, man, you deserve it. So I got an episode to direct, and it was a funny one. So it was an oddball out episode. It was really strange, but so I directed the episode. It felt like it fit just like a glove. And when I came back to LA, I said, "Aha!" The director, Star Trek, said, "Aha! No, you're not." And so I did a number of episodes, including Best of Both Worlds Part 1. It's a pretty big favorite of the Star Trek fans. Mm-hmm. And I showed my Miami Vice to Rick Berman, and he said, "Well, heck, let's get you in there." So they gave me this show. They gave me this particular episode. Correct.
Wow.
Wow, that's interesting. So was it Don Johnson that first made the kind of vouch for you? Is that he said, "We're going to get you in"?
Yeah. Well, you have to understand we're in Miami, right? Miami, Florida. Mm-hmm. And Universal is 3,500 miles away. And so whatever Don did. That was it. You know, nobody argued with him. So he said, "Hey, Chalmers is going to direct the next episode." And they went, "Okay." So he went to Rick, and I showed him my tape of Miami Vice, and he said, "Cool, I'm in." So that's how it happened.
You know, Chip, I just got to point out that, I mean, we've touched on it a bit, but the first 3 episodes you directed that we've seen as a podcast, the 2 Deep Space Nine episodes, Magnificent Ferengi, Take Me Out to the Holosuite, and this one, are 3 of the most iconic Star Trek episodes ever. I mean, I made a shirt off of this episode. And the Magnificent Ferengi, huge. Everybody knows and loves it. Ira knows and loves it, of course. Mm-hmm. And Take Me Out to the Holosuite.
Take Me Out to the Holosuite.
I mean, these are iconic episodes. Did you have any idea when you would read the scripts beforehand, thinking, you know what? I think there's gold in this script? Or was it kind of like, you don't know what's going to stick? You don't know which one's going to hit with the fans and which one's not?
Well, 2 things I am as a director are confident and fast. And when we were doing that baseball episode of Deep Space, I had 5 cameras out there. Sirocco vouched for that. And to have 5 cameras going on in your brain, really have to know where they go and what they do. So I didn't have to worry about the confidence or the speed. I was mostly concerned about getting that realistic performance that is yet got that comic turn to it. Because Patrick Stewart is not exactly a comedian, so he's. But you know, when he turns around and punches Max in the nose, you know, and lays him out flat on the lounger, that's a pretty funny moment.
I called that the Picard punch, because he does one of these when he takes it, he switches it up, and he leans it back, and I'm like, dude, how long does it take to set up your punch, man?
It felt like we were watching Indiana Jones for a second.
It's so telegraphed. Yeah, it was so telegraphed.
so easy. Go ahead,
Chip. You mentioned Max. Sirach, did you notice Max Grodenchik
I wrote down Max G. Gotta be. I wrote it down right here.
Only really felt like Max Grodenchik when he started like losing his mind and freaking out in the cave. That's when you're like, okay, that's Max all the way. But Chip, you are the one that originally cast Max Grodenchik. You are the person we have to thank for his long and illustrious Star Trek career. Do you remember that process? Do you remember what it was that stuck out about him that you liked?
I do. He, as you know, he's a little bit taller than a lot of the Ferengi, but boy, he had an edge to him. He had just that real oddball sort of edge that was, you know, he was a little bit more, you know, a little bit more evil in that episode of Next Generation than he was in Star Trek 9. He was so lovable in Star Trek Deep Space 9. But he came in and he was wonderful. He was just perfect for the part. It's not all my responsibility to cast him. That has to do with the producers as well. But that was his first one.
So cool.
I love Max.
I'm curious because Chip, it looks like a lot of the episodes that you've done are heavily featured outside of the main bridge or the set of the ship, and like pretty much all of them, they're not set in the main stages that we're used to seeing. You get a lot of location stuff. In this one, you had the cave scenes, you had all the rises stuff. So one, you know, are they bringing you in because they want to see your style on the outside of the ship stuff, you know? And two,
I hope so.
because I loved it. Because I was thinking, wow, this is a whole, like, how many sets did they have to build for this particular episode? So I wondered about also the art direction and stuff, the meetings that you had when you were setting up some of these stages, and what was that like? Is also the color choices you made. It looked like there was a little bit more of an orange kind of color to the hues. So what were those choices like?
Well, that was an easy choice. This was an outdoor set. We had regular sunlight coming in through the set. Just the scene in the bedroom. That was all. I wanted it to look like natural sunlight, and so you put more reds and oranges into into the lights and make it look more like daylight is coming in. That was easy. The ship is pretty much, as you know, to light. You just throw a master switch, and it's already hung, and it comes on. To do the close-ups, you bring in some closer lights, but mostly it's all lit on the green beds up top above you. It was a conscious choice, and the set was not my choice. The cave. Because Paramount has that stage 18, it had a pool. So we just, removed the floorboards and built a cave down in the pool. a huge cavernous thing, and it was all built below ground, below stage level, and so they built that from scratch. I told them what I had in mind with where they were going, and all you have to do, really, you remember shots looking up from the cave, looking up at the two strange characters from wherever they were from. So that was a pretty steep angle. But I told them where I wanted to be and which directions I could shoot to make it look like they're going down a different part of the cave and things like that. It's somewhat like Deep Space Nine, where you go around, the circle, and then you turn around and go the circle the other way, and it's like a continuous shot going round and round. But but that was fun, going by Odo's office, and he's practicing his umpire calls and all that stuff. That was that was fun. That was fun, man. Really great. But the cave was underground. Back to Next Generation, and the regular set was on a different stage, and it was all pre-built. No, it was not. I'm sorry, it wasn't pre-built. It was built exactly for that scene, and it was three sides, but one side was also all plants and foliage, and it looked like there were two places because one place had all those Orgon statues, around the idol, on the big idol.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Oh, wow. There it is.
Wow.
Now
you've got a Horgon.
That's the hero prop. That's the one that Patrick used. It's the only one that opened up.
Yeah.
The rest of them were all just.
And it had fakes. It had the thing in there too.
Was it the Tox Utot?
Yes.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow,
that's in my memory.
That's amazing. So, you have the original Horgon statue with the Tox Utot in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I want to piggyback off of Ryan's question, because those Horgon statues and a lot of the things that you filmed became such legendary canon for the culture, right? And so we celebrate Rise and we celebrate those little Horgon statues. Were you aware at the time that this is something that would become such a big part of the lore? Or?
No, not at all. Not at all. It was an interesting part of the set. It was a great idea, a great gag for Jonathan to, ask him to bring one back. Frakes.
That was so funny.
And that sort of thing. He knew all about it. Of course, he was just sending Picard to his heaven. Chill out. It didn't take him long. It was that was an awkward scene. The very first girl who came over to her, she did that without any sort of covering at all, and it was a clear costume. And as soon as she did that, the director of photography came over and said, "You might want to put something on her,
some tape or something."
Some tape. I don't know whether you tape or a nude bra or whatever it was, but that was a shocker. As soon as she got under the lights, it was like, okay, no, we can't do that. So
Gene Roddenberry would have been like, perfect print.
Ira would have loved it.
Well, I wanted to tell everybody at home that one thing assistant directors are known as is they're generally the hardest working people on a set. At least certainly in my experience, I think in most people's experience, they're the ones with the red face, following the schedule, making sure everything is going. I mean, they're just the hardest workers. And, so I think it's amazing. You seem so chill. You got this sense of humor. What an interesting blend. But I know as an associate producer, sorry, I keep saying that, as an assistant director, you got fire in your veins because you really have to have that to be a successful AD. And when I was watching this episode, I was noticing that they crammed a lot into it. There's tons of different sets. There's almost this entire story at the beginning of Picard and Riker and Troy and Beverly and all this stuff. It's almost like its own little episode. And then he goes down to the planet. And then there's another big episode. There's different characters, different storylines. Then they go into the caves. There's a love interest. Was there anything you had to cut out? Or were they just like, all right, this guy's an AD. He can do it. He can knock it all out in 1 week.
Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. They probably checked with some of the Miami Vice folks and said, "Is he good? Is he fast? Is he, you know?" But I'm the same way as an assistant director. I never yell or scream or anything. It's a lot more respect with sugar and not vinegar. So I used to try and prove to them every day that I'd lay down in the front of a steam locomotive for them, and in turn they would do that for me. And I would stay around afterwards every day and walk around and shake everybody's hand and say thank you. And Siraka was out there in the hot sun every day throwing those bullets. That was so cool. I'm sorry. I should show you this too.
Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Right. That is the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember the last shot?
Yeah, the baseball flying.
The baseball flying up in the air that the whole cast had signed.
Mm-hmm.
That really pissed what's his face off. Remember that?
Yes.
So I had them. What I had them do is I had them throw it up a couple of times and spin it, and they ramped up the speed so it slowed down, and it became the ship.
Can you
so
show us Sirac's signature again on there?
Yeah.
Everybody that's just listening in, Chip has the actual baseball that was used in the final scene, and it's signed by the entire cast. And he's got all the signatures. There it is. There's Sirac. That's you, Sirac. No mistaking it.
Yeah, that's my signature. Chip, you're thinking so far ahead. You got the statue, you got the baseball. You're like, yo, that's coming with me. That's coming with me.
I've got the Ferengi rules of acquisition that are all signed by all the Ferengi. So,
oh, nice.
Oh my God, that's great. You seem to have so much fun, and you mentioned about the speed. I wanted to ask you, did your speed in directing come from your work as an AD? I mean, is that where you realize, okay, there's a timetable, we need to meet these goals, and I'm just going to be quick about it?
Yeah. Here's what I did. After the first day, after the first morning, people knew that I was going to print take 1, take 2, maybe take 3. So they had to bring it. They had to bring it every single time. They had to be ready. They knew I could print take 1. If I liked it, if I thought it was good, I'd print take 1. Let's go. Let's move on. And in the meantime, while they're rehearsing, I'm going off to the next set with the director of photography, the gaffer, the chief electrician, and the key grip. And I'm saying, take this wall out. I'm only going to shoot this way and this way. I'll never shoot back here. So put the camera and the crew back here where the wall's gone. And by the time we got there, that was all done.
Beautiful.
So we go right into rehearsing, go right into lighting, and it's that pace. And on Vice, I mean, we were never in a stable set. I was here, there, and everywhere. So they needed to know. If I told the Teamsters, I'll never shoot that way, and they showed up, and they parked all the trucks up and down the street, and I said, guys, I need to shoot down that way. That's it for me. I'm done. They won't have me back. You mess with the team. Yeah, mess with the Teamsters. That's death. So figuratively,
of course.
Yeah, no, I'm confident.
So Miami Vice was a lot of location stuff, right? You were always somewhere.
Always. And Monday was crack of dawn. Tuesday was crack of dawn. Wednesday was noon to midnight. Thursday and Friday were all dark to dawn. No, I used to, as a first AD, I used to tell everybody, "Let's go. We're losing the dark. It's, the sun's coming up. We're almost done."
Wow.
And that classic, "We're losing the light because of the sunset.
We're losing daylight.
Yeah, we're losing dark. Let's go, guys." So.
Wow.
Well, Chip, we're just about out of time here. But before you go, I just want to point out, it wasn't just Miami Vice. You worked on so many great shows that people know. A couple notable ones for me. I believe you were an AD on a show called Manimal. I remember Manimal, and I was so sad that it got canceled. I loved Manimal. Also Models Inc., Burke's Law, Malibu Shores, Pacific Palisades, Mortal Kombat, Melrose Place, Beverly Hills 90210, Seventh Heaven. I mean, a lot of shows that people know very well. Quite the illustrious career. But Chip, we really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. We appreciate your work, and we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Guys, Sirach, it was so good to see you. Ryan, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for inviting me here. I had a blast. It's such a good time. Bringing it all back is always, it puts a smile on my face. So thank you very, very much.
Right. We hope to see you again.
Yeah, we hope to see you again.
All right. Everybody stick around. We will be right back with more coverage of this excellent episode on The Seventh Rule.